You're listening to episode 122 of Our Young Creators, the podcast. Now today we are diving into a topic that is very near and dear to my heart and something that runs at the very core of everything that we do here at Our Young Creators. And that, my friends, is intentional technology. How do we teach our kids and ourselves to be very intentional about our use of technology? Can we use technology for good? Tune in to find out the answer to this question, plus loads more. And I would love to invite you to apply to be a guest on our podcast. If you are out there raising a creator who is doing amazing things and sharing their gifts with the world, I would love to share your story. Head over to ouryoungcreators.com/podcast and click on the Be Our Guest button. I look forward to sharing your stories on future episodes. Cheers. What began as an experiment to bring my 11-year-old daughter into my business has evolved into Our Young Creators. A podcast, a training center, and a movement dedicated to equipping kids with real-world marketable skills so that they can fund their own brighter futures. We're here to inspire you to turn consumption time on devices into creation time and use technology as a tool to bond and not bicker with your kids. Join us each week as we share the inner workings of our partnership and bring you stories from guests of all ages and from all walks of life on our quest to nurture and to celebrate our young creators. I hope your week thus far has been truly spectacular and you are ready and excited for what the rest of the week holds for you. If we haven't already met, my name is Young Pratt, and I'm the chief dreamer, podcaster, and author right here at Our Young Creators. Here at Our Young Creators, we are committed to equipping kids with real-world skills like podcasting so that they can go out to create their own brighter futures, serve others, and fund their own amazing adventures. I'm so glad you tuned in today because the topic we're talking about today is something that is very near and dear to my heart. And it's this notion of being intentional with technology, especially as it pertains to our kids. Have you ever gone to a restaurant and maybe you were with your husband or your kids or even some girlfriends and you looked around a restaurant and everywhere you look, you see people who are together physically but are completely disconnected because rather than having a conversation with the people across the table from them or next to them, they are looking like this. The funny thing is, they may in fact be chatting with one another using their device. Isn't it a sad state of affairs that when you go to a restaurant and you see people out there, rather than enjoying one another's company and being in the moment and being present, they're totally distracted, a million miles away, answering their emails, checking their status on Facebook or whatever social platform that they're on. And I'll admit that I'm guilty of this too. However, I have been really consciously trying to disconnect myself when it is appropriate. Yes, I work online and I do a lot of education via technology. However, when I'm with my kids, who are now 11 and 14, or with my husband, I do always make it a point to remind them that when we're spending time together, whatever we're doing, we need to put our phones away. And now my girls are really good at reminding me and calling me out if I try to engage with them and then reach for my phone. Because let's face it, for most of us, our cell phone has become an addiction. We love getting notifications. We love when people like our stuff. And the more likes and hearts we get, the more we want to engage, because it releases all of those hormones and chemicals in your body and in your brain that make us want to do it more and more and more, just like an addict of anything else. And while it may be rash or harsh to call it such, I really think that we're getting to a time in history where that is very much the case. And I worry about that when it comes to kids. If you have kids and you find them spending increasing time on their devices, raise your hand below and let me know, because I am right there with you. Some days the use of technology in our house gets a little bit excessive, and I get frustrated about that. But what I've been attempting to do over these last several months with including my kids in my business, particularly my youngest, is that when she's using technology, she's using it in a manner that is very intentional. Here at the OIC, we definitely believe in the philosophy of intentional technology. Intentional meaning that when we're on devices, we have an intended purpose or an intended outcome that we want to accomplish. And in our case, when we engage with technology, it is to be able to share our podcast, to share our videos, to create graphics that get people excited about what we're talking about and really want to join us on this movement of creating a new shift in our reality, really changing the paradigm of, rather than being consumers all the time on our devices, why don't we turn that time into creation time? And that, my friends, is what we are so passionate about here. We want to use technology as a tool to help you bond and not bicker with your kids. We want to see parents and kids both being intentional, because, again, the reality is that this new media we have access to is relatively new. And we as adults are still trying to navigate that, while at the same time trying to curtail the use of those same devices and those same sources of media for our kids. But if we don't first look to ourselves and start being intentional with technology, how on earth can we expect that our kids will then be intentional users of technology? So one of the ways that we are helping families start creating and do awesome things together is by helping you to create a podcast. And these days, a podcast is increasingly easy to create because, again, we have those devices tethered to us at some point, and all we have to do is press record, and voila, we do a couple steps behind the scenes, and before we know it, we have a podcast. And there's lots of tools and apps we can use to make the process even easier and share our message with the world. Now, when it comes to podcasting, I know there's always lots of questions, and one of which is, what do I talk about? And if you're doing this with your kids, chances are you could both sit down for 5 minutes and set a timer and just write out what it is that you like. What do you talk about to your friends? What do your kids talk about with their friends? Do they like fashion? Do they like makeup? That's the case with my oldest one. So if she were to do a podcast with me, it might be along those lines. And likely your kids are going to have so many ideas to collaborate together with you. And between the two of you, or multiples of you if you have more than one child, you can create something together to share your adventures that you have through your travels. Share your homeschooling adventures. Share what it's like to work with your kids in your business. I share a lot about that here at OIC, about how Daphne works together with me in my business, how she contributes, and how she's gaining valuable skills that she's now able to create her own college fund. And I just love that. There's so many good things about creating a podcast together. And if you're ready to dive in with your kids and be part of this podcasting journey and have someone to help hold your hand, hold you accountable, and make sure that you get your podcast launched in just 8 weeks, I would be absolutely honored to be that person. Now, Daphne and I are both going to be in charge of delivering the information and really being able to answer your questions. So if you have kids, our kids can now connect together. Whether you live in my same town, which is highly unlikely, or you live across the country or across the world, our kids can find commonality and learn to not let barriers like distance stop them from connecting with people who are like-minded. And the internet lets us connect with amazing people these days. So let's lead this way for our kids and show them that we can be intentional with technology. We can create something amazing together, and we can demonstrate to the world that kids are so capable of sharing their messages, taking charge of the technical and engineering aspects that come along with podcasting, and help them to then use those skills to serve others in the process. If you're interested in joining us, I would absolutely be honored for you to join me and Daphne as we walk you through all the steps to putting your podcast together. So if you go to bit.ly/podcast family, you can get all the information that you need to really start harnessing this power of technology and leading the way for our kids to be very intentional with the use of technology, while at the same time holding us as adults, us as parents, accountable for also using technology in a very intentional manner. If you have questions about podcasting, about getting your kids involved, or what this course is going to entail and what the adventure is going to look like, comment below and I will reach out to you personally and we can chat more about it. I do believe, though, that using technology in this way is really going to make great strides in helping our kids be prepared for what the future holds. Are you with me? I would love to have you join us in our 8-week adventure on becoming a podcasting family. Cheers, my friends.
Hi, Mom. Hi, Dad. I may be little now, but I know I'm meant to do something big on this planet, and I want to share my story. I want to learn skills now that can help me create a brighter future for myself, and I want to use technology to do it. I want to use technology to create, not just consume. I want to use technology to bond with you and not have it be something we bicker over constantly. I want to become a podcasting family so we can capture our adventures, document my growing up, and to share with others. Want to know more? Head to www.ouryoungcreators.com/podcastingfamily. I'm ready to spend more time with you and create. Are you with me? Visit www.ouryoungcreators.com/podcastingfamily.